Hey folks, thank you so much for joining me this course. I really appreciate your time and your trust. Now that we have our Android Studio done, installed, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to empower you. I'm going to empower you by right away, even if you've never built an Android app before, I want to make sure that you are able to build with me right away before we even get into Java and all the craziness, the good craziness that is about to come. I want to show you how fun it is to build an app. Now, this app here is pretty fun because what it does is it gives us different quotes, right? So if we click this button here, it says inspire me. As you click, you notice the different quotes are showing in our app here. Okay. Look at that. So the more you can keep going, and there's so many different quotes. And all of these are being generated randomly. So as you can go, you can keep doing this, inspire me, and we have different quotes here. Very nice. So this is what we are going to do in the next several minutes. Are you ready? Okay, folks, let's do this. Let's do this. So if you have your Android Studio open, then you are already winning. Let's go ahead and open it up if you don't have it open. And what we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and say File, say New, Project. And this is going to be, I'm going to call this Quotes. Oh, if I can spell correctly, Quotes as such. And for our company domain, just put quote. What you're going to do, you just type in com.buildappswithpaulo.quote, just like what we have here. Okay, anything else just leave as it is, and we will explain more later what all of this is. The purpose of this lecture is to get you started and get you excited into building a brand new app from scratch. Okay, let's go say next. And next thing, just leave as it is. No need to change anything. We're going to go ahead and say next. And here, make sure that we have this empty activity selected. And then say next. And anything else is good. I'm going to go ahead and say finish. All right. And if in a few seconds go by, and then you will see that we have our brand new project here. Okay. If you go ahead and click here to run, you may not have any of these devices. No problem. If you have none of them, just go ahead at the bottom here, say new as such, and choose phone. In this case, let's go and select this pixel at the top. You go say next. Okay, say next again, and you give it a name. I'm gonna just say new because I already have everything. And what you're gonna do is just go ahead and say finish. I'm not going to do that, but go ahead and finalize this installation, this creation here. Okay, perfect. Once you do that, you should have a new Android virtual device. Okay, perfect. I'm going to say cancel, and there we go. So since I have one already, I'm going to tap there and say okay, and you should see in a second here, we should have, there we go. It's empty, not eventful, but at least we have something that we can play around with. Okay, that's good. So everything is good. Now let's go ahead. Once we have that, what you need to do, go to the top here where it says app, open that folder. And let's go to our resources, open that folder, and we are going to go to layouts now. And we're also going to change the values inside of colors. So open values, go to colors, double click. These are the colors of our application. If you notice here, you notice these colors to the left, as you can see here, are the colors that are being called to brand our app. Okay, that's what's happening here. Okay, we'll talk more about this. We just want to get something going here. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change a few colors. I'm going to click here. The moment you click this icon color here, notice we have this choose color, this color chooser popping up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a different color. Let's go ahead and find this color here. Okay, let's find a little greener color as such. I'm going to say choose. There we go. For our dark primary, I'm going to also find something similar to what we just got, maybe lighter like that. And for our third color here, I'm going to just make perhaps something like this. Doesn't really matter. That's fine. Okay. Now if you save and run, you should be able to see that. Ah, look at that. Now we've change the way our app looks. At the top here, we notice the colors have changed. Very nice. Okay, we're making progress here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, let's go to our activity here. Once you double click on our activity main XML, you notice to the right here, you may have this. If you don't see this preview here, you notice to the right, we have this preview button or tab. So if you click that, it's going to hide. If you click back, it's going to show. And also at the bottom here, we have design. Okay, so we can go ahead and start designing things. If you want to look at the XML, which we will talk about at a later time, then we can change everything here. But we're going to use the design because we are cool like that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I don't want that hello because we are going to design our screen ourselves. Okay, so once you've done that, what I'm going to do, go to the top here where it says palette. Okay, so click in the search. I'm going to find a card view. Now, when you see this card view, just drag and drop in the middle. It will take a few seconds because things are happening in the background in our IDE because we're importing all of the libraries that will allow us to use the card view. Once you have that, what are we going to do? You see right away we have these circles here. What this means is that we can actually constrain and connect our view in relation to our screens, which means now we can click this and drag and snaps to the top, and we're going to do the same to the right. Oops, let me try again. This happens all the time, folks. Okay, let's go back to card. There we go. I'm going to do the left one, and let's do the right one, and there we go. Okay, so now there it is. The next thing we're going to add inside of our card view is a text view. A text view, as the name implies, is just a text view that allows us to add text. How do we find it? Go at the top here again. We can say text, and there it is, text view. It says AB text view. I'm going to get it, and to facilitate here, I'm going to actually drag it down to component tree here, and look the difference here. I'm going to add it inside of our card view. So you want to make sure that it's inside of our card view, let it go, and you can see now you can open the card view. There is a text view. So now we have a text view inside. Perfect. So click on that text view. To the right here, what we can do, let's go where it says text. Let's change that text to say something. I'm going to say hello world. Now you can't quite see the text because everything is squished together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger as such, and the moment you do that, you notice we have our hello we can see there. Okay, so we changed the size. But while we're here, let's make this a bigger, maybe a little bit more as such. Very nice. Okay, so let's save this again, do a quick run. I just said Control R or Shift plus 10 for Windows, and we should be able to actually look at that. Yes. Wow, very cool. See, that looks really good. So the next thing we're going to do, we are going to change this hello here to make it so that it's in the middle of our card view here. Okay, so for this to work, I'm going to go to text here. I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to go inside of the text, say gravity, layout gravity, and I'm going to say center vertical. The moment you do that, you notice it dropped to the middle, and I'm going to say pipe as such, and then I'm going to say center again, horizontal. The moment you do that, you notice now it's in the middle. Very nice. So let me get rid of this and put it like that. Okay, let me give it a little more space. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button to the bottom, at the bottom here, because this button will allow us to tap on it, and then random phrases or random quotes will appear. Okay, let's go ahead and add a button. Let's go to design again. I'm going to go and say button. There it is. You can see the button. I'm going to just drag and drop again. There. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and constrain. So I'm going to click here at the top, and I'm going to constrain it to our card view. So I'm going to move it a little bit to the bottom there. That looks very good. Let's change the color because this is too mundane. I don't like this color. Let's click here. Let's clear that, and I'm going to type color. In fact, let's say background color. It's just the background. So click there, and let's click here. In fact, I'm going to click here. I'm going to find color, and let's find a decent color. How about this color? Let's use that one. How is that going to look? Sure, why not? It looks good to me. And the next thing I'm going to click again, let's change the text color to something different. I'm going to say text color. There it is. I'm going to click here and this appears. Make sure we're under color. Let's find something exciting. How about this color? Would that work? No, that doesn't work. Let's try again. How about this? Sure, why not? It looks good, it looks decent. Now let's change the actual text. Click again. Yes, a lot of clicking here. So we go to where it says text, it says button here. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna say inspire me, exclamation mark, and there we go. Okay, you can see now it's starting to look very nice. Let's save this, give it a quick run again. Use this command, or you can just click this run here. Let's see how things are looking. Ah, look at that. It's looking really good. One thing I don't like though, this is too to the top here. Let's move it a little bit down, and maybe this inspire button also a little bit down. What I can do, of course, I can come back here and just move things around. As you can see, the moment you start moving them, because we are relating this button to our card view, it also moves along. Okay, so let's save this, give it a run. We should see now that, very nice. I like the way it looks now. Very cool. Now that we have our user interface done, all of this done, we need now to look at the code logic. So the idea is when they click Inspire Me, we are going to populate this text view here, right? Instead of hello world, it has to give us a random quote, which means we have to have those quotes, and we also have to have a way in which we can identify this button in code. Okay? All right, so let's do this. Let's do this. We're getting there. So to do that, you notice now we have this activity main XML, which is this that we have been working on, and we also have the accompanying main activity.java. So let's click on that. Okay, and the first thing we need to do at the top here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say private. Again, if this makes no sense, don't worry. You're going to learn all of this. This is just for us to get excited and into the mood of Android development. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say button, because that's what I need to infer. I'm going to call this quote button. I'm going to create another one. I'm going to say private. This one's going to be a text view. Okay, type. I'm going to call this quote text view as such. Now let's go back to our activity here. We need to give this inspire button and this text view hello here, we need to give them IDs, because we need those IDs in order for us to be able to invoke them in our Java code. So now we are wiring things up, right? We have the XML, we have the user interface, and now we have Java. So we need to match those together so that we can actually have interactions. Okay, so let's go back to our activity here, XML, click on Hello World. And at the top here, you notice we have this ID. It says text view. Let's change this to say quote text and enter. Right, the moment you do that, now this has ID quote text. Click Inspire Me. Let's go in here. I'm going to say show quote button. Enter. And there we go. Now, how do we then connect or find those buttons in our code? Well, simply here, the first thing we need to do, I'm going to say quote text. Okay, I'm going to say is equal to find view by ID. I can say r.id dot, and I'm going to get the quote text. Now, this may seem so confusing. Just remember, all we're doing here, we're just saying, okay, we have the text object, quote text object, and we have to find the actual ID. So that way we can connect the XML, which is this a hello world text view, to the actual code here, our Java code. That's all we're doing. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same with our quote button, right? I'm going to say find view by ID, r.id dot quote show button as such. Now, in previous version, this is just a side note, in previous versions of Android Studio, you would have to say something like this here. You have to go and say text view, right? as such. But now with the newer version of Android Studio, we don't have to do that. How wonderful is that? Again, you notice if you leave like this, it still works, nothing breaks, but it's not necessary, as that's why it's in gray color. Okay, just a side note here, because next time you're probably going to see me creating these apps and you will see this happening. But now we don't need that anymore. We don't need to cast. Hooray! That's a huge deal. Okay, so now that we have our objects connected, we have connected the text view and the buttons that we have from our user interface here, we can now test things out. So for our button, for me to be able to connect our button, we can say now quote button. I'm going to say dot, right? And right away we have this method that says set on click listener. So just hit enter, and inside here just go ahead and say new on click. So the moment you start actually typing, you see things happening. So now we just go ahead and say enter, and once you do that, a lot of code appear. Okay, if this is new for you, don't worry about it. All we are interested in is this on click method inside here. So now if I go ahead and say, for instance, s out, like that, say enter, and say hello, and save, what this means, whenever we tap on the quote button, we should see in our console hello, right? You believe me? Okay, let's try. I'm gonna run our app. And look at this. Let's go say click. Let's see if this also, there we go. System out, hello. I'm gonna keep clicking, and look at that. That means we're able to connect our button to say something when we click. Oh, that's huge. That's very huge. But the whole idea here is actually to change this here, right? This text view. So we know that we have our text view connection here, so we can now use it. So instead of just systeming out hello, we can actually say quote text view. There is another method inside of quote view, or quote text view is a text view, so we can actually add text to it. I can say set text. Look at that, it's there for us. Enter. I'm gonna say, and then I can write whatever I want. Hello there. Now if you save and give it a run, look at magic now. Look at this magic. If I say inspire, look, hello there. There we go. So we were able now to connect the button with our text view, and so every time you click, of course it's changing, saying hello, but because it's the same text, it doesn't show any different. That's it, guys. That's it. So now what we need to do is to actually create our quote server. So it's going to be a class that will allow us to generate all those quotes. Now, I've already created that, so that way it doesn't take us a lot of time, because the whole idea here is not that you understand how classes or all those things work, okay? Because I'm assuming this is your first time learning Android and you just want to get into it. So what I'm going to do next is, inside of our Java here, you open this file, and inside here, you notice we have our main activity, which is where we have been coding here, okay? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another class. In fact, I'm going to create two classes, okay? If you don't know what a class is, don't worry. Just a file where we can put stuff into it, okay? All right, the next thing we're going to do here, so inside of our quote here, inside of this package, it's called package, I'm going to right click, I'm going to say new, I'm going to say Java class, and I'm going to create a class, say quote server. So this class here is just going to serve us a quote. Now, because I already have the code and I don't want to spend too much time, all right, because the idea here is to get you started and going with Android here, this great app, I'm just going to paste here some code I wrote previously. So what is this doing? Well, in this class here, I have this method that all it does, a method is just compartmentalized code that allows us to put the logic that we can then call that method by its name, and then we get whatever that method has computed. Okay, that's what's happening. So this method here, what it does, it only serves us quotes. So I have a string here, an array, which means just a bucket with a lot of quotes that I hand coded here. And then what happens, it returns these quotes. Now, inside also I have another method called getRandomQuote. So what this does, it creates a random number, and then we take that random number, we then put inside of our get quotes, which returns all of these quotes inside of this bucket. And each time that we click in our button, it will go ahead and fetch a random number or a random quote here. So that's all this is doing here. Okay? So don't worry too much. It's here. And once we learn more about Java, you can come back to this app and then this will make a lot more sense. Don't worry too much now if this makes no sense, okay? Okay, so you will have all this code. You just put in your editor, and then we move on. So once I have that, if I go back to our main, because the idea here is that we want to be able to get all those quotes, right? And display them as we tap on the button. Well, the good news is our button is working fine because we are inside our own click here. And also we are able to change the text inside of our quote text view. We are really set up for us to start actually getting the quotes. But now how do we get those quotes? So let's go ahead inside of our own click method, right? Because that's when users click. I'm going to go ahead and say quote. I'm going to create an instance of our quote server object. Okay, I'm going to call this quote server. It's equal to new quote server as such. Now that I have this quote server, that means I can then go and get either this get random quote, or if I want it, I can go ahead and get these quotes. Okay, so but I'm interested in getting these random quotes because this random quote actually calls this get quotes, which is this method here that contains all of those quotes. Okay, all right. So now that I have this quote server, I can go ahead and say, for instance, instead of quote text set and to hello, I can get rid of this, and inside here I'm going to go ahead and say quote server, this one here. I'm going to say dot, so I'm going to access the get random quote, just like that. Wow, isn't that amazing? And that's it, folks. That's it. So now if you save this and give it a run, you are going to see magic happen. Okay, are you ready? Okay, click. Look at that. Those who are heartless once care too much. Look at that. Oh my goodness, we actually getting quotes from our quote server. Look at that. Now, there's a few things I don't like here. So first of all, let's make sure we have a good padding because it's bleeding out to the left here, text, right? And I'm going to make this text a little bit bigger. So where do we change that? Well, we go back to our activity main here. We know there's the text. Let's make this a little bit smaller. So what I'm going to do, let's go to the actual text. I know it's here, text. Again, this is the same representation that we have here, but now we are inside of the code XML. Okay, so we can change things around here. So I'm going to say text size like this, and I can go ahead and say maybe 16 SP. Again, if this makes no sense, don't worry about it. Just do what I'm doing and you'll be happy. You will understand all of this once you go through the course. No problem. Okay, so what else? Let's give it a padding. Let's say padding, and I'm going to give a padding of about 5 dp. Let's save and give it a run. Okay, let's try again. Much better. Bigger font and everything. Very nice. How about make it italic, right? Because quotes usually you want to make them italic. It just looks nice. Well, we go back to our text here. I'm going to say text style. There it is. And look at that. I can either say bold, normal, or italic. Let's say italic. All right. We're just being picky here, but our app is pretty much done. Look at that. So I'm going to go like this. Look at that. Oh, very nice, guys. I hope you're feeling inspired. I hope you are excited to continue learning in this course, because this is just a fraction of things that we will be able to do by the end of this course. Okay? It didn't take that long, and we were able to create a very useful app. In fact, you can take this app and go to our quote server. Where is it? There we go. And you can add more text, as many quotes as you want, and this app will still work. Isn't that amazing? Really, so in less than 30 minutes, you were able to create an awesome awesome application. And it only took longer because I'm actually stopping and explaining. But if you were just to go straight into the code editor, this would take less than even 20 minutes. Folks, that's the power of Android. I'm really excited to have you here, guys. Thank you again for trusting me to be your instructor. I'm very excited that you're here. I really am. And I hope you are, and I'll see you next time.